Ended with a 16-year-old recovering from a broken bone in his face, nerve damage, and a head injury. Tkachuk says he knows why he was targeted.
They don't like me because I'm trans.
And while law enforcement works to determine a motive, both sides disagree on how the case should be investigated.
We absolutely view this as a hate crime.
What is a hate crime about? This was an armed assailant. That armed assailant is now trying to claim that if they hadn't been transsexual, that they would have been left alone to stab whoever they wanted.
So the Israelis used their stopping of the Freedom Flotilla to spread the propaganda that they're actually taking very good care of the people in Palestine. This debunks that pretty thoroughly, as if it needed debunking. Palestinian analyst Mohammed Shaheda explains how daily massacres unfold at Gaza Humanitarian Foundation aid sites. Starving Palestinians gather through the night. By dawn, Israeli forces open fire on the first wave of people. Looters and gangs are then allowed in to scavenge unharmed. As more desperate civilians arrive, Israeli forces open fire again, killing and wounding many. Those who manage to get food are often attacked by gangs on their way back. Later, American-linked mercenaries joined with Israelis who use bullets, tank shells, and stun grenades to drive away the exhausted crowds. This violent cycle is repeated every day. Hunger enforced by deliberate, systematic brutality. So he did this in a series of tweets with videos. Here's how and why GHF massacres happen daily, step by step. 1. Starved Gazans sleep in the open near al-Masawi Muawiyah Mosque that leads to the GHF hubs. Near dawn, more desperate people arrive and start pushing the queue to get to GHF. IDF fires. First massacre of the day between 3 and 4. Every day like clockwork. The more fire shot, the more starved people panic, scatter, or stampede, and the more violently the IDF attacks, e.g. tank shells, live bullets. So let's take a look. So that's the first video. 2, the gangs arrive first. At the crack of dawn, the IDF and GHF allow in collaborators, looters, gang members, and subcontractors who open boxes to scavenge and loot the most valuable items, e.g. oil, to sell on the black market. No massacres at that point. First wave of starved Gazans arrive in the earliest hours of the morning. The IDF and GHF allow them into the caged concentration camp and feeding pens, but more people show up than what GHF could handle, i.e. 8,000 food boxes per day for 2.4 million people. Keep that in mind when the Israelis stopping the Freedom Flotilla brag about how much aid is coming into Gaza, without putting it into any kind of context. IDF starts shooting, second massacre of the day. People who manage to get food sometimes encounter criminals on their way back who loot the boxes by force.
أين العرب؟ وأين العروبة؟ تبا لكم والله من المحيط إلى الخليج ما حركتكم تلك المشاهد ما حركتكم تلك الصور التي والله تحرك الصخرة من جوانب.
Poor people. A second wave of starved Gazans arrive. They take leftovers, sift through sand to find wheat flour, pasta, and rice that fell from boxes of people who had arrived earlier. the less food left, the more people scramble for any leftovers. The IDF fires third massacre and claims it was because starved Gazans were moving close to Israeli troops. A third wave of starved Gazans arrive. They find nothing left and are ordered by armed American mercenaries to go back and leave the area, or else IDF tanks will start firing. But those desperate crowds refuse to leave. They had waited in the boiling sun for hours and walked across dozens of kilometers to get there. They don't even have the energy to walk back and need any food to avoid collapsing. That's when the IDF and American mercenaries start firing stun grenades, live bullets, tank shells, etc. to force the crowd back. The indiscriminate firing creates chaos and panic, which makes the IDF fire more. People then return defeated and starved to the Massawi area and await the next dawn to start all over again. So these people are just living in absolute hell. And it's a hell that we in America are supporting. This is not the only place on earth where you're having horrible conditions. You have horrible conditions in Sudan. You have horrible conditions in the Congo. But this is the only one that the Western world, led by America, is united in funding and equipping. And this is what we're funding and equipping. I challenge you to find a modern nation that has committed a greater crime. There are nations that have committed crimes this great. Find one that has committed a greater crime than what Israel is committing against the Palestinian people. Imagine that was your family. It's incredible that this West that claims this moral authority is funding, equipping this, and turning a blind eye to what these people are going through every day. Israel clearly, in order to depopulate the north, put all the feeding stations in the south to force these starving, dehydrated people down to the south. And once they got there, they start killing them like rats. This is like something you would do to animals to make them lay out in the open air, then lure them in with food and then start shooting at them. This is like what you would do to rats, to exterminate rats.
Yeah, no, it's just, it's absolutely unconscionable. And, you know, they have boxed the United Nations out of this so that they could do this. It's just as evil a thing as you can ever see. And the fact that not only are we doing it, but we're
why they wanted to get rid of UNRWA.
Yeah, well, that's why they wanted to get rid of UNRWA, World Food Program, same thing. Yep. They're putting people on trial for saying that it's wrong. Like, they are actually turning the screws on people and actually giving credence to the idea that you are somehow this bigot for denouncing this, right? That your sensibilities are actually put on trial, or worse. If you're here on a student visa and you say what we're saying, if you're here on a student visa or on a green card even, and you say the kinds of things we're saying, they would kick you out of the country for that.
Right.
If that's not authoritarianism, what is? And look what it's being done on behalf of. This is what I said. There is no moral. This country has no moral authority whatsoever. It's a joke. It seems irreparable at this point. It seems unsalvageable and irredeemable at this point. If I'm to be completely honest.
Yeah. Well, the myth of the shining city on the hill. Yeah, that's done for. It hasn't been in good shape for a very long time. But, you know, when Bush won, gave his inauguration speech, nobody laughed. I think today you'd probably have peals of laughter if someone tried to pull that line. You know, Trump at least goes up there and talks about American carnage. People find that relatable.
Plays dumb about the Freedom Flotilla. Oh, did they kidnap Greta Thunberg? Oh, interesting. You're right. They literally, like pirates, go out and pluck this ship out of international waters. Nobody says anything. None. Even Sweden didn't like stick up for her. Nobody. It's like it just goes on. And that really puts in very stark contrast the claims that the West makes about itself versus the reality that it not only imposes on other countries, but that it brings back home. And this is what Chris Hedges talks about, what you do to other peoples around the world eventually comes back to the way you treat your own. And the crackdown on speech here is an extension of the project overseas. It is a way of subjugating us the same way they are subjugating people around the world.
But this is part of why I say, yes, things appear very dark now, but I don't expect Israel to exist in its current form in 10 years. I don't even think it will exist in its current form in 5 years. To invoke something, a former interviewee said in a very different context, ironically, he's a pretty passionate Zionist, Buck Angel. When you punch hard at reality, reality punches back. Them going this far to tell people don't believe your lying eyes when they see images like this every day, that is going to create an enormous counter reaction. And when it comes in full force, I believe that's going to be the end of Israel's ability to continue as a state in its current form.
I hope so. All right, we got one more. This is yours, right? Right.
Oh, yeah, you don't have any more? All right.
Well, no, I did two in a row. Because
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.